I'd like to say, Sensei, since the early days of Aikido in Britain, we now have a situation where there are numerous extremely talented Aikidoka. But in the early days of Aikido, there was very few people who were the early pioneers. And it gives me great pleasure and a privilege to introduce one of the early exponents of Aikido in Britain, Henry Ellis Sensei, the chief of the Ellis School of Aikido. Ellis Sensei, please.
That's what you're supposed to do. Madam Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to start just saying I'm honoured to have been invited to this very special occasion, and I mean that. The celebration of Chiba Sensei's 40th year of Aikido in the United Kingdom. I would like to take this opportunity to thank both Chiba Sensei and the British Birankai for inviting me here today. Most of you will know of the Jubilee celebration, which was held at Crystal Palace last year to celebrate the 50th year of the arrival of Kenshiro Abe Sensei to the United Kingdom. And with his arrival in 1955 came the inception of Aikido to the UK. Aikido was first demonstrated at the dojo of the London Judo Society in 1955, and later at the Royal Albert Hall in the same year. It was fully the intention of the Kenshiro Abe Jubilee Organising Committee to invite Chiba Sensei to this event. However, we were advised that Chiba Sensei was resting and would not be available for any events that coming year. Both last year's Jubilee and today's event will do much to maintain and protect the proud history in the UK and the lineage. We were so fortunate in the very beginning to have such incredible teachers who were all direct students of O Sensei. Kenshiro Abe Sensei, Tadashi Abe, Mikoto Nakazono, Masamichi Noro, and finally, the first full-time Japanese Aikido instructor to the UK, TK Chiba Sensei. I recently received an email from Jay Nakazono, the son of Mikoto Nakazono, who wrote to me, Sensei Ellis, you truly lived through the golden age of European Judo. That profound statement made me realise just how fortunate the Aikidoka of the UK really are. I, for one, am very proud to see the achievements that Chiba Sensei has made over the years, such as today with a packed seminar of dedicated students. I've also seen the photographs of the impressive new dojo in San Diego, USA. But it was not always like that. Chiba Sensei had the toughest time of any Aikido teacher I have ever known. I recall the first time that Abe Sensei brought Chiba Sensei to the now famous Hut Dojo, and I am sorry to say that there was no welcoming party. Abe Sensei was now in the process of handing over the control of all British Aikido to Chiba Sensei. William Sensei and his downgrades now found themselves in a very difficult dilemma, with their loyalties being tested to the full. At this time, I was assistant to Sensei Williams, and I was very unhappy with the unprecedented issuing of honorary downgrades to various people around the country. These honorary downgrades were intended to help to promote the progress of Aikido in the UK. I personally saw this as a dangerous and very slippery slope, which could only lead to the deterioration of all that we had worked so hard for from the very beginning. I, for one, had no hesitation in joining with Chiba Sensei, and I was the only downgrade from the hut to do so. These early days were going to be very hard for Sensei in the future. We had a dojo at Blackfriars, London, at the premises of the Times national newspaper, and it was there that we were asked to take part in a 30-minute BBC World Radio broadcast. The broadcast was a success. And following on from that, we were invited to do a demonstration of Aikido on Granada TV. And when we arrived at the TV studios, we were ushered into a very nice lounge with a bar complete with every kind of drink you could imagine. I saw a bottle of Jim Beam. I like Jim Beam. Well, I thought, a large shot of that would be good for my nerves. And I asked Sensei, Sensei, can I have a drink, please? He replied, yes, which surprised me. I asked the hostess for a large Jim Beam. Sensei said, no Jim Beam, only orange. I'll never forgive you, Sensei. After the demonstration, we went across the road to a hotel which Granada TV had booked for us. And as we sat in the lounge, having at last a well-deserved drink, not a Jim Beam, I should say, I noticed that people were pointing at us and saying, that's them over there, that's them over there. I now looked up at the hotel TV screen, and lo and behold, there we were on TV, doing the Aikido demonstration. We both looked very handsome on TV. And as you look at Sensei and I today, you will see that we haven't changed. In those early days, we held some of Sensei's first summer courses. I always considered the one at Bracknell in 1968 as being very special, with the attendance of Chiba Sensei, Tada Sensei, Tamara, Ishimura Sensei. Apart from the dojo at the Times newspaper in Blackfriars, we also had a large dojo in Earl's Court, another one in Slough and one in Bracknell. And practicing at these dojos were some very memorable characters, such as Mad Jeff Goodwin and George Stavro. I brought George into it because I didn't think he was going to be here tonight. I do apologise, George. There were very many special occasions that no one can take away from me. I treasure the memories of the early days all the more as I get older. That is why I try so hard to protect our history and lineage, in the hope that this will maintain Aikido as a true martial art, as taught to me and others in those early days by the true masters of Aikido, such as Chiba Sensei. I do regret parting from Chiba Sensei due to serious personal problems at that time. I have always held Chiba Sensei in the highest regard and respect, and I always will. I thank you once again, Sensei, for honouring me and Derek Eastman with your invitation today. I wish you and the British Birankai continued success. And I now ask you all to raise your glasses in a toast to this. You don't have to drink, just raise your glasses. Thank you very much. Thank you, Sensei.
The next gentleman on the list